First, if you haven't assembled your camera stand yet, set the base to the desired location. Level the base with the included tool. Now run the 15-foot camera pole cable through the base and lock it into place. Feed the cable up through the pole, then insert the pole into the base and tighten the 2 set screws. Next, install the camera mount as shown here. You can change the orientation as needed to get the camera in line with the finish line. Raise the pole to the desired height. We would suggest leaning the camera stand against something like a hurdle while raising it, and lock it in place by tightening the 2 set screws at the top of the 4-inch pole. To install the camera, start by connecting the weatherproof cable we ran through the pole to the connector on the back of the camera. Attach the camera to this quick release plate and tighten it. Then insert the quick release into the mounting point. We'll come back to the camera shortly once the rest of the system is set up. Connect the AC adapter to the network switch, then connect the 5-foot Ethernet cable to your capture computer. Connect the camera cable with waterproof bell end into the switch as well. You must use one of the PoE ports in order for the camera to get power. Connect the USB radio to the laptop. Depending upon where you are timing from, you may need to connect the extended range antenna. This will especially be important if you are on a press box. Make sure it has a clear line of sight to all the positions around the track. All FlashTiming FAT systems purchased after August 2025 include a mini router. Attach the LAN port of the router to any port on the TrendNet PoE switch. Do not connect to the WAN port on the router. Next, run the camera cable to the base of the camera stand and connect the weatherproof connector. In our case, we are running from a press box, so we will use a 250-foot cable reel, making sure the cable is safely tucked away from harm. Now with the camera plugged in and the switch on, this green light should illuminate on the camera to indicate we have power. Ensure that the antenna is properly connected to the camera. For this tutorial, we will be using Athletic.net's RunMeet. Open RunMeet Local and select the Start Lists folder and Results folder. These need to be the same folder for RunMeet to properly interface with FlashTiming. Click the Start tab and listen live. This will generate the event list in the folder we just selected. Open FlashTiming and select Capture and Review. The Configure dialog is displayed when you first open FlashTiming. Enter the meet name and date and click Create Meet. This creates a video folder located inside the C/FlashTiming videos. Alternatively, you can select an existing Meet folder from this computer or browse to a folder on another computer. When we are using multiple computers, it is important that this checkbox is selected to allow other computers to discover the folder. Click Next. Select Run Meet from the Meet Management Software dropdown. Click the Browse button and navigate to the folder we created in RunMeet. You should see the links.evt file. After selecting the results folder, the event list will appear. Verify that the Meet information is correct and press Close. If you created a new results folder, you will be prompted to share the folder. This is a necessary step if using multiple computers. Click Yes. If Windows prompts you to grant permissions, select Yes. When we are using multiple computers, it is important that this checkbox is selected to allow other computers to discover the folder. If you are reusing an existing Meet folder, you may want to delete existing Meet management files. But if you are using this option, make sure that you have your old Meet files backed up, or you are sure that you really want to delete them. We recommend creating a new folder for each Meet. Click OK to close the Configure dialog. There are 2 tabs on the left-hand side. One is the Events tab, and that has been populated with our event list from RunMeet. If you've used the system before and all the FAT devices are properly configured, FlashTiming will automatically make the Events tab active. But if this is your first time setting up the system, or if the system didn't detect one of the radios, then the FAT Devices tab is active. You'll see 3 icons for the USB, starter, and camera. The USB radio usually connects right away as long as it is plugged in. If for some reason it isn't detected, you can click the USB radio icon, turn off Auto Discover, and select the radio from the drop-down. Once the USB is detected, you can set up the camera and starter radios. The first time you connect to a new starter radio, you will need to click the starter radio icon to open the starter settings window. In the pop-up window, press the refresh button. Ensure that the starter radio is powered on, then press the red button. Select the starter from the list and press OK. The starter radio will play this sound. The FlashTiming software will remember this radio and automatically connect it to the next time you open the program. The camera should automatically connect if the IP settings are correct. If the camera is connected but you do not see a video in the preview screen, then you may need to configure the camera's IP address. Click on the camera icon and select your camera from the drop-down menu. If you do not see your camera in the list, click the Advanced drop-down and select Camera IP Config. You should see your computer's Ethernet adapter as well as the FlashTiming camera labeled AC A800-200GC. And you can see that my computer's address is 192.168.8, and the last 3 digits of the number will be specific to your computer. By selecting the camera, you can set it to either static IP, DHCP, or auto IP. Set the camera to DHCP if you are connected to a router, such as the mini router provided with the newer FAT systems, or your school's network. If you are not using a router, select static IP. Auto IP will result in dropped frames and should not be used. If using static IP, it is important that the camera and your computer are on the same subnet mask. Here I am setting the camera's IP address to 192.168.8 and leave the last 3 digits alone. Save changes and close the IP config window. Now we should be able to see the camera in the drop-down. Once the camera is selected, we can also adjust the exposure and frame rate. For this example, we will be running LS Plus 1000 frames per second. Click OK to close the camera settings window once you have selected the desired settings. After the camera is configured in the software, we need to ensure the camera is aligned with the finish line. The thumb screws underneath the lens can be loosened and adjusted to set the zoom, aperture, and focus. Set the camera angle and zoom to show all 8 lanes. After you have the desired field of view, adjust the focus knob until you get a clear picture. You may need a second person on the laptop providing feedback while you adjust the zoom and focus. It is recommended to leave the aperture 80% open, but for darker conditions, it may be necessary to open the aperture further. The wider the aperture, the brighter the image, but it will be more difficult to focus. A white background board or finish line post helps to make it easier to distinguish runners from the background. Now that our camera is aligned, in FlashTiming, select the Configure Lines icon. You can adjust the vertical line to align with the finish line and the horizontal lane lines by clicking and dragging each one. Once you are done, hit Save. To set up the FTID, start by setting up the tripod in your desired location, ideally in a spot that clearly shows all 8 lanes with a good view of lane 1, especially for distance races. Attach the mounting plate to the bottom of the FTID and attach the ID to the tripod. Adjust accordingly using the ball head to make sure it's level and shows everything clearly. Connect the cable from the FTID to your network switch. In FlashTiming, open the camera window and select FTID. You can select the camera from the drop-down menu here. Hit Open. Once the camera loads, this window will appear in the bottom left. Using these controls, you can change the position of the window as well as resize it by clicking the edges. Place the tripod in your desired location. Set the clock on top and install this antenna here. You may need to use the extended antenna depending upon how far away you are. Finally, turn the clock on. If you want to use a photo beam for an unofficial winning time, plug the beam into this port here and adjust the photo beam on the finish line so that it points at the reflector unit. You will hear the photo beam click and the light change from red to amber when the photo beam is aligned. In FlashTiming, go to the top menu and select Displays. Select FT Display Mobile and choose it in the drop-down menu. You may need to click refresh once or twice depending upon your distance from the display. From here, select what you would like to be displayed on the clock and decide if you want results on save. This will automatically display results whenever they are saved. If using the photo beam, you can arm the photo beam by hitting this icon before a runner crosses the finish line. The clock will display an asterisk when the photo beam is armed. It will then pause the clock when the runner crosses the finish line for a couple of seconds. Now that the system is fully set up, we can test the system. Start by having your starter press the green button on the starter radio. Both it and the green ready button in FlashTiming will begin flashing. The timer should then click ready, and after a couple of seconds, the light will turn solid green on both ends, and the starter radio will play this sound. You can also flip the process and have the timer press ready first, and then the starter will hear this sound. The starter can then press the button to confirm and arm the system. From here, hold the gun about a foot away from the radio. Once fired, the timing system will start. If you are using an electronic gun, such as this one from Seiko, simply plug the start signal output cable into the bottom of the starter radio. Depending on the e-gun, you may need an adapter cable such as this one. In FlashTiming, when you're ready to capture the race, click capture and the recording will start. From here, if you're timing a distance race, marking when someone finishes can be very helpful. This can be achieved by hitting the B key. You can also open the live review window and assign times as runners cross the line. Select load athletes to show the athletes in this heat. You can also combine heats or races here if needed. Once all runners have finished, click Stop Save and save the file to that meet folder we created earlier. If using this computer for review, select Open for Review. Alternatively, you can review the video on a second computer. If you recorded any times with live review, it will ask you if you want to load those. Click Yes. From here, you can click the scissor icon to trim out dead space between runners finishing. To assign a time, simply click and drag the line to each runner's torso and click the time box by each runner to assign the time. The FT ID camera will also show a front-facing view to help identify the runners. If a runner did not start, did not finish, DQ, etc., you can right-click the results box and select the corresponding result. If you have a scoreboard connected and want to show results as you enter them, click the A icon here. Once you are done, click Save. Over in RunMeet, make sure AutoImport.lif files is enabled. If everything is configured correctly, the results will automatically upload, and as soon as you click Mark Complete, the results will be published to athletic.net. And with that, you should be able to run your first meet successfully.